What if the most powerful ruler of a kingdom wasn't the king? What if real power wasn't worn like a crown, but wielded in the shadows? This is the story of a woman who ruled one of the richest empires of the ancient world without ever calling herself queen. Her name was Shaqilath, wife of King Aretas IV of Nabatea. She's the woman history barely mentions, but power could not move without S. This is the story of the ruler you were never meant to see. The Nabatean Empire, centered around the stunning city of Petra, was a marvel of the ancient world. It was built on control of the vital incense and spice trade routes that crisscrossed the desert, control of water, the most precious resource in that arid landscape, control of the immense wealth flowing between Arabia, Egypt, and the mighty Roman Empire. Officially, King Aretas IV sat on the throne. He was the crowned, visible, and celebrated head of state. But behind him, in the intricate network of power, stood someone far more formidable, Shaqilath. Unlike most royal wives of her time, who were expected to live quiet lives confined to palaces, Shaqilath's presence was shockingly public. Her image appeared right alongside the king's unofficial Nabatean coins. Now, this wasn't just a sweet, romantic gesture. In the ancient world, coinage was state propaganda. It was a declaration of authority. Placing her face on a coin was a powerful, unambiguous message sent across the entire empire and beyond. It said, "She is not just a symbol, she is a co-ruler. Her authority is as real as the king's." Shaqilath understood that the lifeblood of Nabatea was not its army, but its commerce. Her genius lay in her mastery of this economic engine. She didn't just passively benefit from the wealth, she actively directed it. Imagine the scene at Petra. Endless caravans of camels laden with frankincense, myrrh, and exotic spices arriving from the Arabian Peninsula, destined for the eager markets of Rome and Alexandria. Shaqilath controlled access to these merchants. She influenced the alliances with the powerful tribes and neighboring rulers whose cooperation was essential for safe passage. When Rome sent diplomats to negotiate trade terms or exert pressure, it was her counsel that shaped the Nabatean response. No major economic or political decision was made without her input. When those caravans moved, it was with her implicit approval. When treaties were signed, her sharp intellect had guided the negotiations. And let's not forget Rome. The ever-expanding Roman Empire had its eyes fixed on Nabatea. Petra wasn't just a beautiful city carved from rock, it was a strategic prize. Rome wanted control of those lucrative trade routes for itself. It wanted the kingdom's immense wealth. It wanted submission. An empire that had conquered much of the known world was now at Nabatea's doorstep. A direct military confrontation would have been disastrous. This is where Shaqilath's brilliance truly shone. She was a master of diplomacy and strategic patience. Instead of open conflict, she orchestrated a delicate dance of negotiation and influence. She delayed Roman ambitions, not with armies, but with carefully worded treaties and political maneuvering. She played rival Roman factions against each other, preserving Nabatea's precious independence without ever needing to go to war. She kept the wolf from the door through sheer intelligence. Of course, a woman wielding this much influence was bound to create enemies within the royal court. Rivals whispered in the corridors of power, viewing her not as a pillar of the kingdom, but as a threat to the traditional order. But Shaqilath didn't respond with the brute force of a typical monarch. There were no public executions, no dramatic purges. Her methods were far more subtle and precise. She controlled the flow of information, ensuring she always knew more than her opponents. She identified and elevated officials who were loyal and competent, building a network of allies who depended on her patronage. And those who posed a genuine threat, they were neutralized quietly. A reassignment to a distant outpost, a loss of access to the king, a sudden fall from favor. They were simply removed. Her power was a scalpel, not a sword. Her greatest strength was perhaps her most counterintuitive: restraint. Shaqilath never made the fatal mistake of trying to publicly upstage her husband, the king. She never competed with him for glory or titles. Instead, she strengthened his reign. By making him look powerful, she secured her own position and, more importantly, the stability of the entire kingdom, in a region surrounded by ambitious empires and internal rivalries. This partnership between Aretas and Shaqilath was the kingdom's anchor. She ruled beside him, not above him, and in doing so, she ensured an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. The results of her unseen rule were extraordinary. Under the joint reign of Aretas and Shaqilath, the Nabatean kingdom reached its zenith. Cities like Petra expanded, adorned with magnificent temples, tombs, and public buildings. Trade didn't just continue, it flourished, pouring unimaginable wealth into the kingdom's coffers. Petra became a legendary metropolis, a beacon of culture and commerce in the heart of the desert. And while history books and official inscriptions praised King Aretas IV, The real machinery of the state, the intricate gears of diplomacy and economics, moved to the rhythm she set. After Aretas's long reign ended, the kingdom's fortunes began to change. Without Shaqilath's steady hand and strategic mind, Nabatea slowly weakened. The internal cohesion she had so carefully maintained began to fracture. Eventually, in the year 106 AD, the Roman Empire finally achieved its long-held ambition and absorbed Nabatea, turning it into the Roman province of Arabia, Patria. But it's crucial to remember, this did not happen during Shaqilath's time. As long as she ruled from the shadows, the empire stood strong and independent. History has a tendency to remember the conquerors, the generals, the men who build empires with fire and sword. It often forgets the strategists, the diplomats, the stabilizers who prevent collapse. Shaqilath's story proves something timeless about the nature of power. The strongest rulers, always need a throne. They don't need a title. They need control, influence, and intelligence. She ruled Nabatea without armies, without shouting, without ever officially being called queen. She ruled through her intellect and her unmatched understanding of people and power. And that is what makes her unforgettable, even when history tried its best to erase her. If you found this story of the hidden Queen of Petra as fascinating as I did, please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. And let me know in the comments which a forgotten historical figure you'd like me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.